So, this is something we have not done very frequently on this show, which is a episode of something we've already talked about. I did, in fact, cover this movie when it originally came out all the way back in 2015, which was all of, less than a year into doing this. So that was
That's
fun.
a long time ago, sir.
Yeah, I went and listened to it today. I'm not advising anyone else go and listen to it.
Do you still agree with yourself?
Yeah, but I was focusing on everything but what I was talking about. Because like you would, if you went and listened to things you recorded a long time ago, you're probably not listening you're not listening to it for the content. I was listening to it and solely getting, not frustrated by, but it was a very sobering, but also very, I don't know. It felt good to realize I've come a very long fucking way.
A long and furious road.
Yeah, the long and furious road of audio quality being a thing that wasn't a thing I think anybody thought was a problem. But boy, to say it wasn't a problem is being fucking generous or diplomatic. The audio quality was so bad I wouldn't have listened to my own show in 2014. 2015 was a different story. But man, I'm glad that we've got nice equipment now and that, we can sit and revisit this movie because there's finally a sequel. Sort of. Maybe. We haven't seen it yet, so we don't know if it's technically any part after what we've seen already. There might. It's for sure a prequel. There may be, look, I wouldn't be surprised if there's some sort of Charlize Theron framing device that's used in the movie.
100%.
Right, exactly. I mean, look, her voice is in the trailer, so I wouldn't be surprised. But like I kind of alluded to, I did listen to me and Matt Campagna and my friend Candace talk about this movie in 2015. And yeah, I liked it then. So I agree in terms of agreeing with myself. Yes. But I would also say this is kind of I would be surprised if I watched this movie again and was like, man, this movie fucking sucks. Like this is not one of those movies. If anything, I think this movie specifically has probably, we'll get to it, but I think it's aged amazingly for a whole host of reasons. But if you've clicked on this episode, on this episode of the Kulturecast, I am still your host, Chris Stachiw, and I'm joined by my good friend all the way from Dark Destinations tonight, Mr. Walters, Midnight Viewing, and a whole host of other things that can be found over at Weirding Way Media. Your friend and mine, Father Malone.
Witness me.
Jesus Christ. We're about to, because if you don't know what we're talking about, we're finishing up our little bonus series we're doing right before Furiosa comes out when we talk about that with our friend Mike White as a crossover between his show and my show. We're talking about 2015's 30-year-later film sequel to Mad Max Beyond Thunderdome, Mad Max Fury Road.
My name is Max, a road warrior searching for a righteous cause.
War boys! Return my treasures to me!
We're not going back. Come with us. What do you suppose he's gonna do?
Kill him! Mad Max Fury Road, May 15th.
Once again, written and directed by George Miller with some other names on the writing credit, Brendan McCarthy and Nick Lathoris. It stars Tom Hardy as Mad Max, but more importantly, it stars Charlize Theron as Imperator Furiosa. Nicholas Hoult is there as Nux, and you got a whole bunch of other people. Hughes Key Burns plays Immortan Joe. Nathan Jones, one of my favorite, almost was a wrestler, but didn't really have the Riz brother as Rictus Erectus. There's a lot of people. Riley Keough is in this movie, which I completely forgot.
Zoe Kravitz.
Yeah, a lot of people who are like, not bigger deals now, but...
Oh, yeah, they are.
Yeah, bigger deal. Again, like, that's what's weird about this. 2015, it's like, Tom Hardy, a big deal, yes, and sort of, but not really. Like it's again, like I feel like Tom Hardy's constantly on an upward trajectory. Same with Charlize Theron. So, but yeah, to your point, there are some people who are very much now. Catwoman and fucking Batman. So, but yeah, it's there's a lot going on in the movie, and we'll probably. I don't think we're gonna really. Let's not to say there's not a plot in the movie, but I don't think we're going to be spoiling the movie in as much as we hope you've seen this movie already if you expect to go see the next one. But Father Malone, I'm going to kick it to you first since this was kind of you pushing me along this road. We're finally here back at the one that I had seen. So I want to know what your thoughts are on Fury Road.
I love it. I saw this movie. I was actually on tour at the time, so I saw this at a theater in Spokane, Washington. No, Tacoma. And I've as we've discussed in the previous episodes, I was I had been a fan of the Mad Max series the entire time, since those movies were being released, Road Warrior and Mad Max. And I had been following the progress of the on-again, off-again Mad Max movie, Mad Max TV series, Mad Max video games, Mad Max, whatever they were coming up with. I was interested and I wanted to see it. So to hear that it was actually happening was pretty thrilling. And then to hear that they had cast Tom Hardy as Mad Max pretty much thrilled me. Charlize Theron, I didn't have an opinion one way or another, but I was excited that she was in it because it was kind of classing the joint up. I was wowed by the film, for all the reasons it's so goddamn wowable. But at the same time, I was in the minority. I don't feel this way anymore. I've embraced the movie for exactly what it is. But I felt, as a Mad Max fan, kind of let down because I felt it was a retread of The Road Warrior. It was the Road Warrior if you took the final act of The Road Warrior and made an entire movie about it. And that's fine. And I fucking love doing that. But knowing that we could have gone in any direction, I kind of was a little, disappointed at the time. I don't feel that way at all now. Now I watch the movie and realize the genius of it. And the film has an innate, not only ability, but kind of a dare for the audience, because it is so packed with information, which it does not bother to give you at all.
It doesn't explain any of it.
None of it. And it really only takes a breath for a couple of moments here and there, and they're not that long. They're all breaths between we have to start sprinting again.
Yeah.
And the fact that Miller assumed the audience was smart enough and now savvy enough, certainly since 1979, we've all become more visually attuned. We can now take in information in a greater supply than I think we could back in 79 or 82. Right. 87, we're just been trained for that. So the fact that he recognized that and just went ahead and did it, and the fact that there is, even though you're not getting concrete answers, you're given enough answers, and you can fill in everything because everything's already there. So it's not my favorite Mad Max movie, but it's pretty close now. I don't know. I don't really have favorites among the films. So I just see them as equal volumes. And this one I liked in particular because if we're going to take Max back to his more solitary warrior self, then we needed a younger guy. And we needed someone who you believe was actually doing it. I believe Tom Hardy is that guy. Like in the same way I believe Mel Gibson was that guy for the 80s.
Right. Oh, totally. I actually have an interesting question for you before we go any further. And it kind of sprung to mind because you mentioned this. And because, again, this is one of those things that I remember from the Entertainment Weekly that I had in the 90s, that this was in their development hell. I mean, this was part of it. Mad Max 4 had been talked about since Mad Max 3 came out. If you could have cast someone in the 90s, late 90s, early 2000s as Mad Max to replace Mel Gibson, who would you have cast? I'm very curious because you kind of alluded to the thing that's important about Mad Max, which is the kind of story folk tale-esque nature of it. So it kind of doesn't matter who plays Mad Max. It never really has. And I think Tom Hardy proves that. But to your point, if they had ever gotten something off the ground in the 90s, who would you have wanted them to cast?
How far into the 90s are we? I have someone in mind, but I think they were active only by the end of the 90s.
That's right. I'm saying the late 90s, early 2000s. Realistically, a movie like this would have taken a long time to make. I mean, it took a long time to make either way, but say it took half as long for this movie to get made. So 15 years after Mad Max 3. So that's, I think, probably within the person.
Yeah, that's about that time. I would say Michael Shannon.
Yeah, oh, fuck. Boy, that would have been fucking wild. Jeez Louise.
Because you know he can do it. You know he's that intense. And if you see him in something like Groundhog Day, you know there's a softie in there.
Right.
So I think he could play both halves of Max. And Tom Hardy, I should say too, as tough as Tom Hardy is, whatever, that's the thing I like about him, because you see the vulnerability in there, and you see the wheels turning and him weighing whether or not this is good for him.
Right. Which was always something that was important, clearly, for the Mel Gibson character. Again, I'm not speaking with experience. I'm more just speaking as having seen it recently. Like, again, I haven't sat and watched those movies over and over again like I know you have and so many other people who've spent
too much
the last 40, 50 years with these movies. And again, it is crazy to me that in 2024, we are getting another Mad Max movie, but it's not a Mad Max movie. And that's the craziest thing. And that, for me, is the thing that I actually find to be the biggest success about Fury Road is it shows you Mad Max and then goes, yeah, but he's like not fucking important anymore. And I have never seen a franchise successfully do it other than this one, to the point where now we're getting a movie that, by all accounts, the early reviews coming back are that it's fucking amazing. Not that I'm surprised. Not that I think people are being hyperbolic either, given how long it took for this movie to be made and how good this movie is and how specific and idiosyncratic a director, an auteur like George Miller is, to the point where someone like Hideo Kojima, who is also an auteur in his own right, but in a different medium, goes, this man essentially writes like the Bible for me in terms of the things that I care about. And like, that's how he feels about George Miller and the things that he makes. So when you have someone else who's that iconoclastic saying that about you, I can only imagine how hard it must have been for him to go, I have this other character now that I can do so much with, and let's see if it works. And when the people resonated with it the way that they did, now it doesn't matter if this is Mad Max at all. And frankly, this movie makes such a wild case for, in a lot of ways, these movies were never about Mad Max to begin with, which I think, I mean, again, like, it's about a folk tale, and that's, and what does that mean for the people, right? It's supposed to be I mean, again, if you take the second movie at face value, it's being framed by a old man who is telling this story about when he was a child, and it may be truthful, it may be exaggerated, it probably is exaggerated, because most good stories are. There's a nugget of truth there, but also, again, it's a folklore. It's a tale that I'm assuming these people, I mean, you see it in Beyond Thunderdome, they rally around it. It keeps them going. It's the hope. And they talk about the hope in this movie. And that's the thing. I mean, I think to your point, like, I can see why this isn't your favorite Mad Max movie for plenty of reasons. Again, you've spent a lot more time in a room alone with Mad Max than I have. This is my favorite Mad Max movie. And I think that this is a perfect movie. Genuinely perfect up and down the board. There's nothing wrong with it. There are things that maybe a couple things I would change. But in terms of the way it's presented, what it is, what it's trying to do, and how successful it is at doing something that no other franchise has really ever successfully done with its main character, it is a perfect movie. Genuine.
I can understand you're saying that, and I agree with it in a lot of ways. I think it is a great fucking movie, and I like that. It's the one Mad Max film. Well, no, they're all pretty much standalone. If you you don't have to know anything about the previous movies in order to.
That's what's so good about them.
But what I find amusing about this one in particular is that Max seems to have less to do in this movie than in the previous movies, and yet I feel like Max gets more screen time and more dialogue and more actual action that we're privy to. Ordinarily, Max comes up with a plan and just does it.
Right.
This is the first time where we're privy to the meeting where he lays out the plan. I think the scene where he describes that we need to go back to the Citadel is more than he has spoken in all 4 previous movies. But I did want to say something about, because we had spoken about in the previous episodes about the earlier movies, about how the first film doesn't have a narrator, right? That seems to be the only historical document of the actual character of Max Rokitansky. Right? Before the war.
All of this has been presented, yes. That's the only factual historical documents, to quote Galaxy Quest.
So in the sequel, that's narrated by the feral kid. The third film, Beyond Thunderdome, that's narrated by whom? There is some voiceover there. I think it's one of the kids or something telling tales. Like I think they use the kids telling the stories as the sort of narrator for that one. That's who's telling that tale, those children. And I had wished that Max got to narrate his own, and forgetting completely that that's what happens here. This movie opens with Max doing the voiceover.
Right.
So now this is Max telling us his story. So this makes it even weirder.
Right. It's story within story.
And Another thing, I listened to a very extensive interview with George Miller today, and he said in it that these films are not chronological.
Interesting. When I watched this movie, I didn't think that it was. Up until we did this, I genuinely thought that up until I watched Mad Max 1, 2, and 3, I thought that this was a prequel. Because, again, just going off the fact that Tom Hardy clearly looks younger than Mel Gibson did in 3. Not 2, not 1, but 3.
Then George Miller just confused everything further by saying, okay, it's not chronological. Like, you know, these stories might have taken place then or that. And he likes what we like about it, the sort of folk tale quality of it. But then he says, for something like the Citadel, for that organization with the war boys, for that whole thing to culminate would take about 45 years. But Max was 20-something, 22 when the world fell down.
Right.
Which would make him 67 in this story, which actually makes sense if you went with Mel Gibson. Then it could be chronological.
Right. Totally.
Because and to your earlier point, like him realizing that he had another character that he could like continue the story with, I think that was the plan all along, because it was going to be old man Max, and at the end, evidently, it was supposed to end with Max settling down.
And that's the thing. I kind of assumed, and again, I'll tell you, I misremembered how much Tom Hardy is in this movie. I had really only seen this once, maybe twice up until rewatching it now. And I think even when we were talking about it last 3 episodes, I was like, oh, he's not in it a whole lot. He's in it a lot more than I remember. He has a lot more autonomy in it. I mean, he doesn't have a lot of autonomy, but he has more than I remember. He has more dialogue than I remember. And I think to your point, I mean, this in a lot of ways, like it feels like the last Mad Max movie, because the framing device should have been, you know, and then I finally settled down afterwards. Like, it kind of makes sense if he was the one telling the story, which, like you said, he is clearly the one telling the story. It's just not framed the way I think either one of us would have done it if we were making this, to make it a little bit more like what he'd already done, because he'd already set that tone. And I wouldn't be surprised if that's how the next movie is framed, because it kind of seems like that will be what it is.
I said this before in Beyond Thunderdome, and say it again here. Like the real bonus of this movie being delayed as long as it is that they got to replace Mel Gibson in the lead role here. As confusing as the chronology has become, he's the one I want out there doing it now.
Tom Hardy, you mean?
Tom Hardy, absolutely.
Oh, totally.
And I watched it again twice. I watched that black and chrome version.
Oh, sure. Yeah. And so is it black and white, or has it just been desaturated?
It's been desaturated.
Okay.
I mean, it's variations of black and white. You know what? It's ultimately a waste of time. I watched it as sort of a curiosity up until the dust storm, and then I was like, oh, fuck this, and I put on the regular movie, because then it's just a waves of gray, and who gives a shit? I want to see all of the gorgeous special effects work going on there, like, you know, much more immediate when it's in color. And you know what, a lot of this movie is monochrome anyway, so it doesn't even need the desaturation. All the stuff at night, which is just gorgeous, it's all day for night stuff, but when they do nighttime interior stuff, they bathe everyone in blue, except for, like, there'll always be somebody with a candle who is illuminated beautifully, like surrounded by all the blue people.
Or the Doof Warrior is illuminated red at night.
Yeah, man, seeing those
great.
Seeing those flames not color, it's why? What are you doing?
It's a gimmick, because people said it would look good that way. And I mean, like, I forgot that was a thing. I didn't go and do what you did, and now I'm not going to, because, you know, Godzilla -1, a movie that I know you're not the biggest fan of, they did that with it as well. And I think
I imagine that works better.
Yeah, that makes more sense. Just
It still wouldn't solve the jerky walk that Godzilla is doing throughout it, like a fucking animatronic that escaped from a Chuck E. Cheese.
I still haven't seen it, and now it's like, oh, do I even want to watch it? Because if Godzilla's laughable, it's a Godzilla movie.
No, look, the first act is fucking awesome, like truly. And maybe the first appearance of Godzilla as a real threat now to Tokyo, like that sequence is great. All the action is really good. It's just the boring character stuff in between. It's all melodrama. Anyway, well, what are we doing here? I'm just making enemies.
I was going to say, speaking of character melodrama, this movie doesn't give itself enough time to do that. This movie is, you mentioned it. I think that's the thing about this movie that I appreciate every time I watch it, because I watched it 3 times for this. This movie challenges you to find a time to go to the fucking bathroom if you're watching it in the theaters. Like, it is genuinely a movie that it does not stop except for, like, I think 2 scenes, 3 scenes.
Maybe, yeah.
The nighttime scenes, and when they meet those, like, the women, the, like, older women clan later in the movie. That's it, really. Pretty and I guess the beginning is sort of slow.
Sort of, but like, is it though? It sort of just begins with a chase. It continues with a chase. We get 2 seconds of everyone setting up, and then off we go. It's really, really fast.
The credits are fast. I don't know, like, the movie revs itself up. Which is like fucking insanity. George Miller nails the tone of the movie with the Warner Brothers logo cranking itself up. And I think that alone, it's like, he's just going for it.
Yeah, another challenge about going to the bathroom is ordinarily you'd wait through an action scene and then go, okay, well, they're just going to talk for the next 5 minutes. But the talking is so infrequent and it is so important that you have to continue to wait to the bathroom.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't remember seeing this in theaters, and I don't remember the theater going experience for this movie because it was so long ago at this point, but I couldn't help but think that watching it this time, I was like, I have to pause it, obviously, but how would you pause this if you were seeing it in a theater? Because it just never ends.
No, and rightfully so.
And it's all compelling, too. That's the other thing. It's not like just action for no reason or without purpose. Everything in this movie is well crafted and well thought out. What a surprise. It's a George Miller movie.
The continued reappropriation of older items and the selectivity of them. You'll notice that there are no... all the cars are from the golden age of automotive, the hard shell vehicles, because anything computerized is dead, you know? And
because they fucking look cool. I mean, that's really what that's what it is. Like, you know, a hot rod with dudes standing on the back or the front of it looks cool. Like, it's other than a dude standing on a Mazda Miata. Like, that doesn't look cool. But dudes on a hot rod or like muscle cars that have huge, like, monster truck wheels, that's cool. That is very cool.
Hot rods that have been used as cabs for big rig trucks, like laid on top of it, like shell at the front, shell at the back. Like, oh my God, it's so amazing.
So I want to mention something that you kind of already alluded to, which is Tom Hardy is I think he's really good as Mad Max. But I also think that, I mean, again, and, you know, we've kind of alluded to the fact that the movie is so nonstop, and it does introduce you to a lot of characters. I think pretty much everybody in this movie is great. I will say, though, this is one of those movies that, for the most part, you have to go and find out the names of the characters after the fact. Because similarly to Mad Max, I almost all of them. The third one is the only one where it's like they're saying the names of people a lot. And the second one, I mean, we have a character named the Feral Kid. You know, so I mean, this series is kind of always
they should have put that name at the beginning. The Feral Kid, like in Beyond Thunderdome. The only reason we know all of those characters' names is he puts it all up front in the opening credits. It's this guy is Pig Killer. This person is in Fury Road. There's no time for that. We only need to know Furiosa and Max.
But the other thing is, I think, and you kind of alluded to it when we were talking at the beginning, the character of Immortan Joe, he's in the movie a lot, but it's not like we're getting, you know, scenes checking in with him constantly. He makes such a massive impact and again, he's not, I mean, this is not like a young guy at this point. I mean, this is, you know, he's an older gentleman playing the main villain in a legacy sequel to a franchise that has cast him once already as the main villain in the first movie.
He like swapped roles here with Max. Like, Max is all talkative all of a sudden, and Immortan Joe says about 6 things.
And I think it's kind of perfect.
Whereas Toe Cutter was pretty goddamn verbose. Speaking of Toe Cutter, I noticed this today, or last night when I was rewatching it. All of the war boys, they all want to be witnessed, right?
Right.
Witness me, they keep chanting. You go back and watch the original Mad Max when the Knight Rider is blazing around, he just keeps screaming, "See me, Toe Cutter! Do you see me?" Interesting.
It's intentional, right?
Must be.
I mean, look, Toe Cutter dies at the end of Mad Max.
We get a flash of that in this movie, I noticed. In one of the many ghostly flashes, we get the close-up of Toe Cutter's eyes.
So that's something I do want to talk about, because it is, you alluded to it in the last episode that we did, and now we can talk about it on this episode. What do you think of those ghost apparitions, visions that Max is seemingly having that other people can't see? I mean, these are visions of, again, not characters we've seen before, maybe, I don't know, or they're in reinterpretations of them, but I have some thoughts. I'm curious what your thoughts are, because you're smirking, so I know you must have some.
Oh, I've been thinking about this a lot. Initially, on the very first time I saw the movie, the first time a ghost popped up screaming, you should have saved us, Max, I was completely thrown, because this is the first time we've been given anything like this. It's bordering on the supernatural, you know?
Yeah.
And it really is bordering on the supernatural. Like, I had no idea how much, because there's almost a premonition late in the movie from one of the ghosts. So initially I was thrown because it didn't feel of a piece with the previous films. But at the same time, it confirmed for me that Max is that haunted. I always assumed he was, but it would be easy to think that he's the guy who shuts down all emotion after each of his adventures and then just moves on to the next. And I'm glad to know for sure that everyone he couldn't save is another thing driving him forward. I think they work great. I loved not knowing any of the people. That in particular, one of the ghosts, one of the ghostly voices anyway, is the thing that finally turns him around in this movie. Because like we said, it's almost a reset at the beginning of the film where this is now back to Road Warrior Max. And we can only assume something horrible happened in between to get him there. So, and obviously it did because he's haunted by it. But when he's given the chance to continue on with the mothers and Furiosa and says he's going to go his own way, it's the voice of a child saying something, Papa. So it's a boy calling him Papa, which that makes things even messier now because he had an infant that was killed.
Right.
What child was calling him Papa? Obviously an important one because it's the one that turns him around and says, oh, I know, I got to help them get back there and have a life because where they're going right now is just death. So to answer your question, I love the ghosts in it, honestly.
I think it's interesting. Again, when you were talking about it on the last episode, I didn't remember any of it because, again, and not that it's not important, but you've kind of already alluded to it. And if you've seen this movie, you know there's so much going on. The movie doesn't give you a moment to even focus on them anyways. There's going to be something else it throws at you more or less immediately. I find it interesting because I think it plays into the folklorish aspect of this, which is, again, like you've said, we know some of these stories, but clearly we don't know all of them. And the ones that we do know are the successes that he has had. But we have never, and again, also maybe the stories that we're told are told again more successfully than they did happen anyways. So maybe some of these people are some of the people we've seen. We just don't, again, realize it. I think to your point, that thing with the child calling him Papa is, again, whatever story that is, yeah, we have not seen that. But the fact that they just kind of hint at it, show that it happens, and then move on is, again, I appreciate this kind of storytelling because it doesn't treat the audience like idiots. It assumes that the audience is actively engaged with the film and is paying attention and is not fucking around on their phones. And I mean, again, they can fuck around on your phone all you like, but don't complain if you miss something in a movie. And in this movie doesn't have any, no pun intended, no training wheels on in this movie. It just goes. And like you said, the dialogue is important because it's sparse at best.
Yeah, he's expecting you to pick up so much of the culture and the customs of these people that every line of dialogue, it all seems throwaway and it all seems clipped and to the point, as it should be. I mean, it is a chase movie, but always revealing every single time.
And, again, when we talk about recasting your lead in your movie and doing it successfully. Tom Hardy is not what's funny is Tom Hardy's not even playing Mel Gibson's Mad Max.
No.
He's playing his own thing on top of everything else, which the fans seemed to resonate with, which is something that I think speaks to the people that are fans of these movies for the most part. I mean, I understand, though I do not agree with people disliking Beyond Thunderdome. I think it's interesting that while they were rejecting Beyond Thunderdome, they're, accepting of recasting the lead completely with a different younger actor who then plays the character completely different than the original character that they fell in love with.
Well, they wanted the Road Warrior. They wanted the Road Warrior. They wanted Mad Max Part 3, and they got Beyond Thunderdome. Here, they got Mad Max Part 3. So, of course, they're ecstatic. And I would say my one criticism of his Mad Max portrayal is you can tell he decided that he was going to be a bit feral.
Right.
Max is many things, but every time he found himself in a trap of some kind, he would, like a dog caught in a trap or a wolf or something, he would grab hold of it and shake it furiously as if that would do anything at all. Like he finds himself locked to Nux and he's just shaking the chain.
Right.
Max is smarter than that. I mean, I appreciate it's a whole different take on the guy, and who knows if the chronology is as fucked, this could have happened who knows when.
Right.
But that's something I did not like. Everything else I thought was great and an improvement on the character.
It seems like, and look, we both probably have, we both do have opinions on Tom Hardy, obviously, and maybe they're the same, maybe they're different. Tom Hardy, for me, one of those guys, he just makes choices sometimes. And, I mean, I have seen the interview, as I'm sure you have, where he talks about where the character of Bane came from and where that voice came from, and it was inspired by a real person, like a gypsy boxer or something to that effect, like a bare knuckle boxer. And I think, again, this is like that. This is just a choice that he's making of his own volition. Well, and I'm not saying it does. I kind of agree with you. It doesn't work because Mad Max is not. He's not ruled by those emotions, it would seem, outside of maybe the end of the first movie.
Yeah, the thing is, the choice that he made, this sort of animalistic take on every time he finds himself confined, is actually wildly appropriate for this film. It's as frenetic as everything. So I could see why George Miller would go, yeah, that's right. Okay, fast. Like, you find out there's a problem, you can't solve that problem, and now we move on. It makes sense. Except, I love Max Rokitansky, and he wouldn't act that way. I don't care what the situation was.
Right. And again, I think to your point, like, yeah, it's maybe not the choice that makes sense with the character as we've seen him, but it's the choice for this movie. Right. This movie necessitates that.
And it's a quibble, honestly, because like I said, it is in keeping with the rest of the flick.
And to be fair, for like the first half of the movie, he does effectively have a muzzle on. So, I mean,
super weird, man. Like a third of the film, at least, Max has his nose smushed up and can't really talk, and
it looks miserable. That looks like a miserable thing to have on your face for any amount of time, especially. And that's the other thing, man. And I mean, I know, again, preaching to the choir here, but, this is an amazing movie, obviously. But fuck, I'm not sure I would have wanted to make this movie. Jesus Christ, running. I mean, everything
6
about
months?
this. Yeah. And it looks miserable. Everything looks miserable. This is like, again, you have to look dusty and dirty every fucking day. I'm good. I mean, it's like the equivalent of being covered in buckets of blood constantly. Like you're sticky and wet. Here you're hot and dry and covered in sand. Like, fuck that. But it lends a unique look to the movie that one cannot replicate with CGI, which is what I love about this movie so much. Is you can see there's CGI. Some of the CGI ain't great, but it doesn't have to be great. There's a couple shots of guys' bodies flying through the air that look a little video gamey. But again, at the same time, all of the practical effects are so amazing. I don't care. Like, I really don't care.
Hey, there's one shot where there's a vehicle called the excavator. It has the buzzsaw on the end of like a backhoe.
Right.
When they destroy that thing, one of the war boys goes flying through the air, and they show it from 2 separate angles. And I assumed it was CG, but it's not. That's a dummy. That George Miller said after Mad Max, when after Road Warrior, when Virginia Hayes' character gets run over, which was clearly a mannequin or a dummy.
Right.
He said he wouldn't be doing that anymore, but then he talked to the effects guys here, and he said, could you make a war boy and weight it like he would, his actual weight?
Right, like a human body.
And then could you put an elastic in between the arms so they're drawn into the center so they're not just flopping around? And I got to tell you, man, that fucking body fooled me for I don't know how many times I watched the movie. I didn't realize it until he said it in the interview that I heard.
That's wild. I wonder if that's the one I'm thinking of. There's a couple shots with flying through the air bodies. I don't know if it's that one. It might be. Either way, that's insane. But I think to just the amount of time spent on just that one thing, George Miller, right? Like, man, they don't make movies like they used to is something that you say sometimes. But with George Miller, nobody makes movies like George Miller other than George Miller.
Well, you know what's funny is not only I admire him so much. Not only has he figured out that audiences are, attuned enough to take in more visual information, but he also recognized that the technology was a real boon to them. In the interview I heard, he was describing how when you used to film an explosion, you would have a camera magazine that could hold exactly 10 minutes of film at the time, right? But you're shooting in slow-mo, so you're shooting twice as fast. So you have half that amount of time. Now, in order to get the camera up to speed and then get everyone into place and get everyone out of the frame and then get the action going and then fire off an explosion, it was a crapshoot every single time. Here, he's like, we can just leave the camera on at all times. Like, those little things, you wouldn't think would be a big deal, but, it's 1983 and you've got to get the truck from here to here and it needs to explode here and the camera is only going to pick up this much amount of time. You got to plan everything to, what a headache. But at the same time, so everything, his life has been made easier and he only complicates it with even more vehicles. And now he has guys on poles swinging around. And now there's a doof warrior with a guitar. He just keeps overcomplicating everything. And God bless him, because it's not me out in the fucking desert shooting this thing for 6 months. But he just continues to impress me on every level. He uses the ease with which technology allows, and he uses that to push himself harder. The man is in his 80s.
I know, and that is not something that directors half his age care about. And again, for me, I don't need a director to make a movie every year. But if you make a movie every 5 to 10 years and it's something like this, or what Furiosa sounds like it may be, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with you having a filmography of 25 movies. If every 2 to 5 years you're making something that's well thought out, well intended, and that you actually put, like you said, foresight and thought into everything, into the way a dummy flies off of a exploding car, to the way the world works. Again, we've talked about this plenty of times, but he thinks out everything in these movies. Every little thing, every little flourish in the environment. And maybe some people will look at me and say, okay, but it reminds me a lot. And I think it owes a little bit of, obviously, appreciation to something like a Star Wars, the original movies, in terms of a futuristic world that looks lived in.
100%. I think George Miller would even agree with you.
I
think every filmmaker who sort of came up after Star Wars recognized that they needed to build a world. If they were in any good as a filmmaker, they needed to make a world and make it lived in and real. And Miller does that just better than...
Well, I was going to say there's one other name that I would mention, and it's one that I know you and I are both very fond of, which is also Alien has that same vibe and feel to it, which comes directly from Dan O'Bannon.
Right. That's another movie that allows the audience to take in this wild environment and explain nothing at all.
Right.
I've had people who don't know that they're miners. They're hauling freight. It's a mining craft. They just think the people in space and they fight an alien.
Right. And God, I rewatched Alien recently. It's there's some 45 minutes where it's just setup for the movie. And again, some people would be like, "Oh, it's so boring." It's like boring. Like it pays dividends because the world feels real and lived in. And by the way, Max wears the muzzle for 45 of the 2-hour runtime of the movie.
I don't think
45 minutes.
was going to do that.
It's insane, right?
And he's like, you see Tom Hardy, like he's actually strapped to that vehicle and they're like racing it through the desert. Like, I don't know, man.
I guess, I mean, I say like, I wouldn't want to fucking do it, but like when other opportunity is it going to arise to do something like this? Right.
That's true. I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm joking. If George Miller hired me for anything, I would go do it.
Yeah. But that's the thing. I mean, again, to your point, like the idea of this guy is such an iconoclast as a director that I am going to see his movie because he directed it. I mean, yes, I'm excited that it's a Mad Max universe movie, but at this point, I'll go see whatever he releases for the most part. I haven't seen his last movie. I don't know why.
It's awesome.
Yeah, I've heard it's amazing. It fell through the cracks like a lot of movies during the last couple years did that didn't come out in theaters. But I had heard it was great, and it looked suitably just like most George Miller things, his own thing through and through.
And he got to have characters sit in a room and talk to each other. It must have been so challenging for him.
Right. Yeah, sit still for 5 seconds, George, please. God.
You know, I've been looking at these movies. Obviously, we've been looking at these movies, and I when I look back at them, I kept thinking that they were all about gasoline, but really only The Road Warrior is about gasoline. The first film, it is an issue, but they don't present it as one of the problems. You just figure it is. There's only a certain amount of people on the roads with gas because it's pre-war. Road Warrior, obviously, it's about a fucking refinery and escaping with the fuel. But Beyond Thunderdome is more about like what new civilization is and like bartering and bringing it back. This movie's about water mainly.
Well, women's reproductive rights.
And yeah, I'm just saying, like, as a resource.
Oh, as the resource of it. Yeah, it's water. Yeah.
Yeah, the gender politics in this one is like right out there. I mean, Yeah,
out in front.
It doesn't need comment almost. It's so fucking apparent.
Yeah. I mean, one of the other resources is technically women of breeding age, I guess.
This is true. I mean, in the apocalypse, there's only so many clean human beings left, right?
Yeah, and Immortan Joe wants all of them.
Yeah, and there you go. It's all another facet of this film, all about the haves and the have-nots. The sort of who controls that power. Like the power here is water, and that's what you can make green with. And he dribbles it out to his followers. Just like. It's funny. I know I just keep referencing the interview, but I found it very illuminating where he said basically writing a Mad Max movie is looking at the world as it is now, finding the problem, then going into the past and finding a similar situation to see how people actually acted in that case, and then putting it in the future.
Yeah, I could see that.
So he's saying there were previous situations where there were citadels in the ancient world, and they had to barter with these people that way. Okay, so that actually happened. That's a precedent. What did they do? Now I'm going to write a movie about, this water problem and the women's reproductive rights and throw it all out there.
All in a movie where people are in cars for 99% of the film, chasing each other down.
And stabbing them and perforating them and crushing them underneath. I mean, it goes without saying almost. The action is so fucking insane in this movie. It's just, it's in hard hitting. Like, that's the thing. Like, you can give me a string of action-y scenes, whatever. It can look beautiful. If I don't feel an emotion from it, then it's not really working. Right. And that's the other thing. Miller speaks through his action, and it might just be a cool effect every now and again, but because we love these people so much and we're so goddamn invested in the world, every one of those crashes, you feel it.
And I really appreciate that, because there is, and this is something that we've kind of talked about a little bit with the rest of the movies. This movie has the most gunplay of any of the movies, which I think is really interesting because, like you just alluded to, anytime there are guns being used, it is very intentional with the way that they're used. And there's a scene where Tom Hardy and Charlize Theron are fighting. It's the first time they kind of are at odds with one another, and he gets her gun. And I don't know what George Miller is doing in this scene, but when Tom Hardy shoots the gun, the camera like vibrates with the gun as it's being shot. And again, this has more gunplay in it, but they make a point of like pointing it out is what it feels like, more so than the other movies have. Because again, it in and of itself is a resource. You alluded to it in the last episode, and they talk about it here from the Bullet Farm.
Yeah, so he's finally corrected, or not corrected, but given an opportunity for gunplay, because in the previous movies, characters have had guns and they've used them, but half the time they don't work.
Right.
Ammunition is old, and this is the apocalypse, folks.
Right. That's why I hate zombie stuff, because zombie stuff is like, oh, it's all guns. It's like, but who's making the ammo? Yeah. And again, like when a director goes and says, I have thought that out, and here is the answer. I not only appreciate that, I respect that, because that's a commitment. That's a commitment to the bit, as it were, or a commitment to the gag, as it were, with the movie. Like, you've committed completely to what this is. And I appreciate that.
There was a season of the TV series Gotham where they did the run of No Man's Land from the comics, where Gotham is basically cut off from the rest of the world. And they turned the Riddler into an ammunition fella. He had factories making bullets inside. And I thought, well, that's great, because that's actual currency they can use in there, and they need those goddamn bullets. So, yeah, people are paying attention to that sort of thing, the scarcity in a sort of dystopian situation that you would use it. But of that scene, the one you were talking about, I mean, look, the gunplay really comes into effect when they're trapped in that muddy wasteland that used to be the green place, when the blind brother of Immortan Joe, he's the the conductor of the choir of destruction.
Right.
Like, that's when the most of the gunplay comes in. But the scene you're describing, the sort of hand-to-hand fight between Furiosa and Max, that's my favorite scene in the movie.
It's amazing.
I know you can watch any half dozen to a million Hong Kong films and see probably better choreographed action executed, but these characters, like I said, that I'm already invested in, both of their stories going at it, the action is so good. He uses every piece of physicality available. The chain becomes an issue. The car door becomes an issue. Trying to cut the chain off. But in particular, that moment where Nux holds out the clip to the gun, Max slams it in and then fires 3 rounds around Charlize. The camera does do that, and you feel it, right?
Yeah.
That moment is, this fight is over.
Right. It's like, that's it.
Yeah. And that's the dynamic for the rest of the movie until they all sort of like get cool with each other.
And I like that they get to that point as well. I actually really, I mean, we kind of haven't really talked about it, but Charlize Theron and Tom Hardy's chemistry is great. They're not love interests, which I appreciate. And this is one of those movies that there is a minor romance that feels earned between Riley Keough and Nicholas Holt's character, but
totally earned,
but we don't have our main characters in a relationship, which I appreciate. It's more of just a mutual respect thing by the end of the movie. And I appreciate that, because again, bucking conventions. I mean, again, the thing that's, looking back at when this came out, we were in pre-Endgame, height of the MCU, right? When every single fucking superhero had a female love interest, even when they didn't need them, even when they wouldn't even come back in later movies. Like Rachel McAdams' character didn't come back in, what was it? She never showed up in Avengers Endgame or Infinity War, but then she came back for the second one.
Madness.
Yeah. Yeah,
she's getting married, so they're basically saying well, you won't be seeing her again. No, but they bring her back at the end. She's one of the variant cops.
And then she gets replaced by, of all people, Charlize Theron.
Oh my God! Dun, dun, dun.
But what's funny is I always remember thinking so many of those MCU characters don't need love interests, and they always felt shoehorned in. And this movie just goes, nope. We don't have any interest in that. And I respect that a lot, because again, that's just bucking the conventions that you expect with this kind of movie.
Yeah, I don't think Max can't have a romantic interest. I'm curious for the time he does. If we don't ever get it, I'm also fine with that too. But yeah, this, again, I mentioned in the last episode, the Beyond Thunderdome episode, because that to me felt like George Miller just taking left turns every time you're supposed to take a right, or every time And like that's a big one here. Like him saying like a note came down from Warner Brothers. Like, could they have a scene? These two beautiful humans, maybe just a little bit of romance.
Would it have been believable?
Yeah, I mean, people in horrible situations fall into each other, but
I'm more talking to those two characters. Like, I just don't see it.
I don't see her looking for anything from anybody.
That's my point. Maybe it's not as much Max as it is Furiosa, and that's the thing. I mean, honestly, that comes back to this, what the next thing we talk about is, why the next thing that they're making the next thing that's coming out is what it is because she is the best part of this movie, without a doubt. In a movie that it has so many things that are amazing, it's not that I didn't like Charlize Theron before this movie, but she wasn't someone who I necessarily, when she was in something, I would appreciate her in it. But this was, for me, when I saw her in this, was a big change, a moment of change for me as someone who would watch things that she was in.
Yeah, this, I don't know. I've been a fan of hers for a while. I mean, I think she can be funny and she thinks she can be very dramatic, but there's something about carrying an action movie. It's really difficult, and it's difficult to be the lead because you have to let everyone sort of outact you. But that's not the case here. She's the emotional center of this movie, in addition to being the straight man. Yeah, I mean, this is her story beginning to end, really.
Yeah,
I mean, this is her mission, her choice, her plan. Max just gets, as usual, swept up into it and just goes along with it because it's a good plan until it's no longer a good plan. And then it's his plan to help them.
And that's the other thing you kind of alluded to. I mean, and you mentioned it, your favorite scene in the movie is when Furiosa and Max square off. They are equals in that scene.
100%. Yeah.
Which is, again, like kind of bucking the conventions at that time. I mean, 2015 is pre a lot of changes to the way action movies are going about doing things. This is speaking of Charlize Theron, pre-Atomic Blonde. Is this pre-John Wick?
I think it is.
I mean, again, like,
that's easily Googleable.
Right. But again, like I wasn't expecting to bring up John Wick because, again, Atomic Blonde, I know, comes out after this. And that is a lesser action movie in terms of it being a Charlize Theron showcase than this is. This is like, I think that this is one of her best performances, period.
Yeah, definitely.
And it also cements a new female heroine that, again, not saying it's hard to do, but it feels like we've seen all the best ones for the most part. I mean, the big time ones. And she makes a case for being just as important as Ellen Ripley or so many other, again, characters like that, but Ellen Ripley is obviously one of the big ones.
She makes a case for, let's keep going with this. Let's keep getting female action stars. The problem isn't that people don't go see female-led action movies. It's just that they keep making shitty female-led action movies.
Well, they just keep making shitty action movies. It doesn't matter who's the lead.
Yeah, in general. So, but like, let's stop giving The Rock action leads and give some to the ladies. He's got enough. He did it enough.
Are you telling me that Skyscraper would have been better with someone other than The Rock? I don't believe you.
I don't think anything was going to save that movie, but
Fair.
It certainly is an example of shitty action movies.
John Wick came out in 2014, by the way.
Wow, before this.
1 year before this, which is interesting because, again, I kind of remember it the other way because this, I guess John Wick is kind of the thing that opens up a new kind of action movie. And again, like, it's been copped so many times now. But yeah, again, like, we used to not get movies like John Wick very often. Then that is not the case anymore.
Well, no, because then John Wick comes out and there's a million imitators. We're kind of in a golden age of action
now. But you know what's hard to imitate? Something like this. That's the funny thing. Have we gotten any imitators to this movie since this movie came out?
No.
Because it's fucking impossible.
Honestly, thinking back on it, like, actual imitators of this movie, other than some Z-grade,
what was that? Not Apocalypse. Was it called Apocalypse?
Doomsday.
Yeah, that one.
Like, that one, I could definitely point. I think the movie is, like, way more influential, and you've mentioned this a few times, in the realm of video games.
Oh, yeah, totally.
you can't really look around at other cinema or movies and go, yep, Mad Max imitator, Mad Max imitator. But if you can just go walk into a GameStop and pretty much one whole wall is ripoffs of Mad Max.
I mean, again, Borderlands, pretty much a Mad Max ripoff. Something I do want to talk about, because I had mentioned it to you, and I was futzing around with it while watching one of my watches of Fury Road, the Mad Max video game. Which,
the 2015 game?
Yeah, man, what a fucking underappreciated, underplayed game. Seriously. I went and looked, like, people have reappraised it recently in like the last couple years, because again, with the glut of open world games, I kind of feel like it came out, people were just like, it's just another open world game. Not that I'm not saying I think that's what happened. I went and looked. That's what everyone leading up to it was thinking it was going to be. What a game that deserved better. A lot better.
Oh, well, you know, it's maybe a case of we've already done this.
I mean, we hadn't done that, though.
No, of course not, because you can't do that without George Miller in there somewhere. But you know, the Fallout people, I'm sure, said, I'm in a wasteland right now. I've been in a wasteland for many years.
But the cars of it all, I think, is what was interesting to me, because for a game that Borderlands doesn't use cars the way the Mad Max game does, because that's part and parcel with Mad Max, is the vehicular combat, which is well represented in the video game, which I think makes it worth playing alone, because it's an open world Mad Max game with good vehicular combat. The hand-to-hand combat kind of sucks, but the vehicular combat, actually pretty well done. Surprisingly well.
Yeah, I'm not looking for hand-to-hand combat in a Mad Max video game. I want to drive the car.
Yeah, and it represents that well.
They destroyed the car in this movie.
Yeah.
And they do it in every movie. Is he finding? Because, see, now that fucks with the chronology even further.
It
because
sure does.
That car keeps getting destroyed, man.
Well, that's the thing. That's why I thought this was a prequel. Because, like, he has
but
the
it blows
car
up
again.
in the Road Warrior.
So, okay, so let me ask you, if you were to try and put these chronologically, and this one isn't the last one, let's just concede this is not in it the right place chronologically, where does this go then?
Here's what I think. I think The Road Warrior and Fury Road are the exact same story told from two different wasteland tribes.
Oh, a little bit of that telephone, huh?
Yeah.
A little and then, a little and then.
The stories are that similar, and the beats are that kind of close. The only thing missing is the pilot, really.
Yeah. And really, to be fair,
say,
where is Bruce Spence in this movie, right?
Yeah, man. Actually.
Two of the three? Come on, he should be 3 of the 4.
I now have 2 problems with the movie. Tom Hardy acts a little too animalistic at times, and there's no Bruce Spence. That's a problem for me, because I know Bruce Spence is still alive, and I don't care how old he is or infirm he is. They could have had him in a wheelchair. He could have been one of the fucking the brothers, the Gas King or the
Yeah. I don't know why they didn't. There's not even a representative character, not even anything like him.
Is he in Furiosa?
I don't know. Max is. Now that the movie's been out,
I've heard, yeah.
Yeah, now they recast him. Yeah, and they recast him.
Yeah, but I'm sure it's going to be a situation where he, like, drives through the frame.
Right, yeah.
Oh my God, that was Max.
Like, and that's the thing. Like, and that's the thing, like, and that was kind of where I wanted to bring this kind of, as we kind of bring it into the station of Furiosa. I'm curious, what do you want and expect out of Furiosa? Having sat and rewatched Fury Road, for this.
I don't want Fury Road Part 2.
Right. Agreed.
I would like, I would like it to take its time. How about that? And I know that sounds antithetical to Mad Max fans, but I want some breathing room in this movie. If you're going to now tell me a further story of Furiosa, I want to know a little bit more about her, and I want to know how she thinks.
Yeah,
that's what I want from the movie. Here's the thing: I know the action's going to be fucking bananas, so like I'm not concerned about that at all. It's just that we've now had the remake of Road Warrior. I don't need a remake a second time.
And that's where I come in as well. Like you said, this really is the third act of Road Warrior, just like blown up 200%. Like, here you go. You get the whole movie. And look, like yourself, like I love it. It's great. But I don't need this again. I mean, I could stand for something different. Or maybe you're playing the same song, but in a different key. And that's perfectly fine. Just not the same song in the same key, which I'm sure there are plenty of people, I just want another Mad Max movie just like Fury Road. And it's like, oh, God, please no. Because it can't be as good. There's no way. Fury Road already exists. That's how this works. You can't, and you will not get a better movie than Fury Road because Fury Road already exists and it's pretty perfect as it is. So I just don't see it happening. And the guy who plays Mad Max in Furiosa is just the guy who's his stunt double in this movie. Yeah, so there you go.
Again, it's just going to be like the car pulls into the frame and you go, holy shit, is that Mad?
If anything, what I frankly assume is the framing device is like the best comparison is the way that they frame The Hobbit, where it's like the third movie ends right where Fellowship of the Ring starts. I bet Furiosa ends at the beginning of Fury Road.
Oh, could be. Yeah.
I bet. And then it makes sense why it's just like Mad Max would be a cameo, because it's like, oh, here he comes. This is, they've kidnapped him, right? And there was a part where he's being kidnapped and taken to the Citadel. I just, like you said, I just don't want it to just be, let's hang a lantern on the fact that everybody loved Fury Road and let's just do that again. And look, it seems to be everybody who's seen it has pretty positive things to say, and that it's not just a retread, which is nice. And also, I can't wait to see Anya Taylor-Joy do her own thing with Furiosa as well. That's probably that and Chris Hemsworth. Chris Hemsworth playing a villain is exciting for me.
And at the same time, it does feel like, well, I mean, after Charlize Theron shows up in your movie, you've pretty much broken the movie star rule, you know? Not that there was a rule, but, you know, you watch the earlier films, and other than Mel Gibson and Tina Turner, and Mel Gibson I know mainly as Mad Max, so in that case, it feels like, I don't know who any of these people are. These are just the characters in the world. So, you know, obviously, you need to have stars in your movie to get your movie made now, but it does... That, to me, takes a little bit of shine off of the V8 Interceptor.
That it's Chris Hemsworth?
No, not that it's Chris Hemsworth, that it's a star the size of Hemsworth playing, you know what I mean? Like, if it had been Brad Pitt or somebody, I would have the same reaction. Like, oh, this is Mad Max and Brad Pitt is in it, you know?
Yeah, no, I totally get it. It's the Steven Spielberg's not allowed to direct James Bond thing. It's like, I don't want the star or director to overshine the franchise.
Absolutely. And Tina Turner was not really known for acting when she took on that part, you know? It was just, oh, cool, you know? It was stunt casting, but it didn't feel out of place.
Right. And yeah, that's, I mean, I hope that Chris Hemsworth has a worthwhile role in the movie and doesn't do, like you said, kind of just Chris Hemsworth in Mad Max. What that means, I don't even know. I don't know what, I haven't seen a lot of things that he's in other than the Marvel stuff. So
yeah, but that's enough, you know. My
point is like, well, that's what I'm saying. I don't know. I haven't gone and watched any of his other non-Marvel stuff, which I'm sure he's being cast in other things. So he must have a setting other than Thor. So that's what I'm getting at. To your point, it's like, I don't want Thor, obviously, but I haven't seen enough of his stuff to know that I know he can do other stuff. I just haven't seen it.
I'm sure he'll be fine. All the early word seems to be that he's really good in it, and I don't doubt he will be, because I like that guy. Just saying.
And I guess the question is, was that the case with Tom Hardy at the point in 2015 when he was cast as Mad Max?
No, I think Tom Hardy's name wasn't household, I don't think. I think if you were into movies, you knew him and you'd seen a bunch of his stuff by 2015. But like, you know, he'd been around forever. Nobody knew who he was. So it was Mad Max that put him, I think, in everyone's head.
Everybody knew him as Jean-Luc Picard's clone from Star Trek Nemesis.
Nobody knew him from that.
Oh, fuck. I saw that movie in theaters. Talk about a letdown.
He's good in.
He's good, but that movie is a letdown. Like, just kind of, yeah. It's no First Contact, that's for sure.
No, you can tell it's much more by committee at that point, and probably in a reaction to that previous film, that fucking that prime movie.
Insurrection with F. Murray Abraham.
My God, that was terrible.
Yeah, you know, you mentioned it. It's crazy how long Tom Hardy has been around acting, but I think this is kind of like at the time, this was the biggest thing he was in.
Oh yeah, sure. And then, but you know, followed it up with Venom. So you know that.
But Venom was 6 years later.
Good God.
Yeah, Venom was Venom. Venom 2 came out in 2021.
Yeah, so the 2 years before. So it's only like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, well, he was, but again, he was also in The Revenant and Dunkirk, and and then obviously, I mean, he had been in The Dark Knight at this point, but like again, like other than the voice, first off, you never got to see him. Like you never saw what he looked like. I mean, this movie that was part of the joke when this movie came out, wasn't it? The fact that like Tom Hardy's face is just like obscured in shit that he's in the big name stuff. At least he's not completely obscured in this movie. But yeah, I guess
it's a lot better. I'm glad they didn't decide to put Max into a mask and he affected that Bane voice.
Right.
That would have been a different thing. And now, of course, I'm going to need to watch a video where somebody has done that.
Right. God. And you know what? I actually like Tom Hardy as Venom. I think Venom is stupid enough. And the second movie is actually kind of fun.
I love that second movie.
Yeah. I mean, it's directed by Andy Serkis. And Woody Harrelson doesn't have that stupid wig from the first movie.
Oh boy, I wish they had kept it, honestly.
I mean, me too, but it was, boy, I know that they were trying to be like, I bet everybody's ready for Carnage, but yeah, maybe if that's Carnage, you can keep him.
Yeah, you don't have to look so comic accurate if it looks fucking ridiculous.
It's like Ronald McDonald without the pancake makeup on.
Man, I'm looking forward to the next one. I love this movie. I don't need to exhort anyone to see it because you've all seen it. I'm just saying, go back. It works perfectly on its own, but go back and watch the first three movies and then rewatch this one. You did this. You saw Fury Road with nothing, and now you know who Max is. What was your experience? You don't need to know mine. You know I love Max beginning to end. Yeah,
so that's actually I was hoping you would kind of broach this question, and I think it's interesting. I enjoyed all three of the movies subsequent the prior to this one, and then I enjoyed obviously Fury Road immensely. I think I'm not going to say you don't need to watch the first three. I think if there's anyone you need to watch, it's the first one, right? Would you agree with that?
Agreed.
Just Mad Max.
I 100% agree with that. Everyone, I said in a previous episode, I would recommend Road Warrior just to keep them on the hook. But in terms of who Max is, you got to watch that first movie.
I think you could actually watch Mad Max and then Fury Road. And if you want to skip 2 and 3, I mean, again, I'm not advocating that you do, but if you're short on time in your busy life, I think Fury Road checks enough boxes that 2 and 3 are checking as well. Fury Road just kind of, in some of the ways it does it in a more bombastic, over-the-top, read that as expensive way. Because like we've said, it's kind of the end of Road Warrior, and it kind of also has some of the resource politics of Thunderdome. So again, Fury Road is kind of the best of all of the worlds. I liked 2 and 3 immensely. I think they're totally worth checking out if you have the time to do so. But I also understand it's a big ask to watch not 1, not 2, but 3 movies, and then watch another 2-hour movie, and then go watch another 2.5-hour movie. So not everybody has all that time, which I do appreciate. But I think obviously, like you alluded to, everybody's seen Fury Road at this point. And if you haven't, probably start with Fury Road, honestly.
Yeah, look, if you're going to go see Furiosa after Fury Road, I would recommend not going to watch any Mad Max movies because this is not another Mad Max movie. You're not going to need to know anything. But if you're going to rewatch Fury Road on its own and want to know a little bit more about Max, then go back and watch Mad Max. Because what you just said is the absolute truth. Fury Road is the perfect synthesis of Road Warrior and Beyond Thunderdome.
Right. Yeah. It has, again, it has everything that those movies both have, but this, in a lot of ways, it's just a little bit more refined, but that's only because it's the second time or third time that he's doing it in some. Yeah, I enjoyed this kind of rewatch of this movie and a first time watch of the first 3 immensely. And I'm really excited for you and I and Mike White to talk about Furiosa, because it's not that I hadn't had any intention of watching it, but I'm more excited to watch it now, for sure.
Hell yeah. Also, go read the comics. They're pretty good.
Are they Dark Horse?
I don't know. I don't know the company, actually.
Interesting. I would be surprised. I guess this feels like a Dark Horse thing, right? Like,
certainly.
Yeah.
I can't see it being with one of the majors, not even Vertigo.
No. And yeah, like you kind of advocate for some extended media. I would also say you can go pick up the game on Steam for like $10. Check it out. It's kind of fun. It's different. And in a world where we get open world games that suck, it's an open world game that's kind of weird and different. And, you know, it has vehicular combat, which isn't necessarily something that's being done all the time and or well when it is done. So, yeah, I love the world of Mad Max. Like you alluded to, I was inundated with it long before I even saw Fury Road with something like Borderlands, which I loved immensely and played a lot with my friends in college, which owes not just a debt of gratitude, but some money to this, because it feels like, again, like it feels like it's just same universe, different planet, and in a lot of ways, like, again, it's, you know, desert planet, but with colors, you know. And that's the thing about this. It's all about the vehicles ultimately are really the star of the show, but somehow George Miller makes you care about the people inside the cars, which is not an easy thing to do, because
not an easy thing to do 4 fucking times.
Right. Yeah. 1 time, let alone 4 times. Totally. So on that note, until we talk about Furiosa here in just a couple days, Father Malone, where can people find you and the things that you work on?
Go over to weirdingwaymedia.com. Check out Midnight Viewing, one or the other of the Midnight Viewings. We have a horror anthology podcast and the Anthologies Attack podcast. So if you're horror-centric, check it out one week. And if you want to hear crazy anthology like Batman the Animated Series, check us out on the alternate week. And you can also hear me on Night Mr. Walters, a taxi podcast. That's HP's podcast, also on Weirding Way.
As for me, like Father Malone just said, Weirding Way Media is where all the stuff that I work on can be found, and plenty of things that I don't work on that are just as good, if not better. And if you want to hear the only thing that I work on that is not on the main RSS feed or on Weirding Way Media, that's on patreon.com/Kulturecast or patreon.com/Projection Booth, where you can listen to at the $10 level or higher, ranking on Bond, which, if you like Mad Max and you like action movies, you probably want to hear people that like those kinds of movies talking about James Bond, which you should. And Father Malone's going to be joining us for the first Roger Moore movie. So,
I'm so fucking stoked. Can I just tell you? I'm going to keep telling you how fucking stoked I am.
It's an inflection point in the James Bond franchise. And to your point, I am also very excited, because I think it's going to be a fun discussion. And if you want to hear it, like I said, patreon.com/Kulturecast or Projection Booth. Like, rate, and review this show on iTunes, please. That is where it is found for the most part by so many people, and that is where more people can find it if you like and rate and review the show. Father Malone, thank you for I'll thank you again for pushing me to engage with Mad Max in a more than just Fury Road way. So
badgering you for months.
Yeah, and hey, we did it. We're done. It happened, and we got done before Furiosa came out. So, you know,
under the wire.
Right under the wire. So yeah, until that episode, we'll catch you on the next one.